Welcome to Business Strategy 450. This is the Week 2 recap.
All companies need a strategy so the employees will know what they don't do.
Uh-oh. What should I do? Uh-huh. We don't do that.
Welcome back. I hope you had a good week, and hopefully you're beginning to realize that strategy is more about what we will do and the direction we will take with the company, but I suppose on some levels it's also about what we won't do. And but I think you'll hopefully realize that it's a little bit more than that. Let's go over what we've gone over last week. First, as you may recall, I went over a few new class resources and class enhancements. Here's a screenshot of some of the things that hopefully you're going to be using or already are using. First of all, there's BStrat 450 Network, which is the new social networking site. Hopefully you've been there, you've had a chance to spend some time there and realize that there's actually some forums that you need to participate in. This past week we did Porter's 5 Forces, and we did the strategic analysis of Business 450 based on the changing education paradigm. There's also the BStrat 450 YouTube channel. This is an area you don't need to go necessarily, since the videos are also over in BStrat 450 Network. But if you want to go there, in addition to all of the course videos, other than those that are only available from Cengage, you'll also find some other channels that I think might be worth pursuing or worth looking at. And finally, up here is just Manhattan. Manhattan still ends up being our core resource for the class, and I just want you to remember that as you move along. The first thing we covered last week was how to prepare an effective case. Hopefully you found that helpful, and certainly it'll be critical to you as you prepare the work that we've got coming up in the next several weeks, particularly both the written case analysis and the team project. If you have any questions on case analyses, how to work through a case analysis, what you need to do in terms of structuring one, please let me know. I will try to be as responsive as I can. We also talked about the inputs from the external environment. We talked about opportunities and threats from the external environment. We also talked about industry competition and did some competitor analysis, and spent a little time thinking about some of the ethical issues associated with competitor analysis, and I appreciate all the thoughts that people shared during the discussion thread in Manhattan on that. So in terms of industry competition, maybe one thing for us to think about and remember is Porter's 5 Forces competitive analysis. And as you may recall, I put a forum discussion on Porter and the activity of actually defining your industry. And as Porter said, it's difficult to define an industry. And I think a lot of you may have found that that was true as well, based on some of your postings in the discussion forum in BStrat 450 Network. But maybe it isn't even relevant whether we know what industry we're currently a part of. And as I alluded to in my postings, we in the future are going to be spending a little time talking about, in addition to Porter's 5 Forces competitive analysis, which emphasizes strategy from the perspective of your competitors, we're going to focus on as well blue ocean strategy. And that's where tomorrow's leading companies succeed, not by battling competitors, but by creating blue oceans of uncontested market space. And so in a sense, you're redefining the notion of competition, redefining the notion of your industry. And once we've spent a little bit more time thinking about the more traditional framework, which is outlined in the textbook and certainly in the early lectures, we will also try to apply blue ocean strategy, which I will be explaining in more detail in the coming weeks. I also appreciate all of your participation in the discussion about the changing education paradigm. I particularly appreciate that people took some time to think about the general environmental segments that were identified in Sir Ken Robinson's presentation. Certainly his points make us think, I think, in terms of the way that we look at education, we look at ourselves as students or educators, and makes us think about what the environment is like for this industry, which I've defined as business education, but you might want to define it differently. And certainly in the forum I asked you to rethink or at least consider whether I use the right industry definition. But as we work through the analysis of the strategic management process as it applies to our course, it will be helpful for us to know where we're starting in terms of an industry segment. And then regardless of how we define the industry, as I said in the forum, how might the environmental segments identified by a number of folks, and again I appreciate what you've done so far in the discussions, how might those influence our strategic plans for this course? So as you post comments or continue to post comments on the strategic management plan or strategic management process and our strategic plan for this course, it would be very helpful if you would think about the industry from the perspective of those segments, and then our course, and what should be some of the major environmental impacts that might impact the way that we structure our course, the direction we take with our course. So I will be asking that question, and then I'll try to go into a little bit more detail in the coming weeks as we think about that. And then I also offered, as you'll see both in B-Strat 450 Network and in Manhattan in the assignment section, and I've mentioned this in previous lectures, offer the opportunity for you to utilize or to set up a personal strategic plan. To do that, you need to utilize the strategic management process as a framework and apply it essentially to your personal strategic goals. Your goals should be achievable and measurable, so you've got to have something that you can go back and evaluate whether you've done what you said you wanted to do. And you should use some of the work that you prepared for the first periodic chapter assignment, that's the Jerry Rice video case, to help you as you think about this plan. As part of your environmental scan and your internal reflection, you should also prepare a personal SWOT analysis, and there's more detail on that in both Manhattan and out on B-Strat 450 Network. Just remember, there's no magic formula for the length of the document, but it probably requires at least a couple of pages. And then your personal strategic plan should look far enough into the future, maybe 2 to 4 years, for this to help you as you think about your life plans in the future. And I've said 2 to 5 years, 2 to 4 years, whatever, but somewhere in excess of 2 years. And then I guess what I would say is this exercise is supposed to be as much for your benefit as anyone. So encourage you to do it, in addition to hopefully helping you as you think about your plans. And I know a lot of you are seniors now and you're thinking about your future. This might be helpful to you in that regard. I'm also offering sort of the effective equivalent of up to 5 additional points on your final grade if you participate in this. As you'll see, I explain how the points get calculated. It's going to be part of your personal participation grade, but it'll be a supplement to that, so that if you get the full, it's actually 35 points in personal participation, you'd actually get the equivalent of up to additional 5 points on your final grade. So it might be worth doing both on a personal note and certainly in terms of the course itself. As you think about that project, please think about your personal values and how they'll shape your mission and vision and your goals. What's important to you? Think about your financial security. Is that what drives you? Is it your relationships? Is it your personal achievement? Is it creative opportunities? Is it something else? That should drive how you frame this up. And don't forget, as I said in the blog, Maslow's hierarchy of personal needs, which include all of these, but these may help you think about the things that matter most to you. And as you build a strategic plan, you should be moving as close to the self-actualization component as possible, since that is in many respects the equivalent of the long-term innovative strategic goals of a company. So that's a summary of what we did, a summary of some of the things that are in process, and let's move on to our week 3 slides, which will be in traditional PowerPoint. Thank you.